Grief. How do we get over it, really? When we're faced with losing somebody we love, people say there's things like a STEPS program and you work your way through the 5 stages of grief, finally coming to acceptance at the end. But what if you refuse to come to acceptance? What if you stick in the bargaining section of grief? What if you're trapped in the perpetual notion that if enough things go correctly, the person or the thing that you've lost will come back to you? Well, some would identify that as insanity is defined by doing something over and over again and expecting a differing result. If wanting the best for my anime universe is insane, well then lock me up and throw away the key. Because listen, we're going to be talking about a topic today that we've talked about at fair length. In fact, the topic we're going to be talking about today is the first YouTube video, well, at least real YouTube video, that I put out on this page, as everything before that was just cringy Twitch videos and then a couple of vlogs that I refuse to take down because I want you to see how far I've come. But for those of you who have been with me for a while, or at least have watched my first video, you'll know that the first video I ever put out was Kurama's Not Actually Dead. A video where I explored the numerous ways and avenues that Kurama could go through in order to come back to the Boruto manga. Now, mind you, Kurama died in chapter 52 of Boruto, and we are now at chapter 80. And considering the fact that the Boruto manga only comes out monthly, that was 28 months ago? 32 divided by 8. Yeah, 28 months ago. Wait, no, that's way too many months. I think it was chapter 55, which would be 25 months, which would be a little over 2 years. Oh wait, I think I was reacting to the anime coming out. Whatever, you get it. I've been talking about Kurama not being dead for a long time. And while over the course of the 2 or 3 videos that I've posted about this topic, I've explored some incredibly sound theories. And genuinely, sitting here right now, I believe there's at least 3 ways that would make sense within the canon of Naruto that Kurama could be brought back to life. None of these theories are headcanon, insane. They all play by the rules that Kishimoto has laid out for us. But today, while pouring through the 200 plus emails I had sitting unread in my email, I came across an email that asked, where's Kurama now? Now that Kurama is dead, did he go to the Pure Lands? Did he have a soul in the first place? And honestly, that got me thinking, because Kurama, for all intents and purposes, probably shouldn't have a soul. He's just chakra. He was created from the chakra of the 10 tails by Hagoromo. However, what is a soul? Kurama had a personality, he had idiosyncrasies, he hated things, he loved things, he gave his life for Naruto, which got me thinking about whether or not Hagoromo could create a soul. And if Hagoromo did create a soul for Kurama and the rest of the tailed beasts, what that would mean for them should they ever die. See, having a soul, and specifically having a soul that is currently existing in the Pure Lands, means there's a couple of big things that can happen to you. The most specific of which is being brought back through the means of Edo Tensei. But could an entity that was purely chakra and may or may not have a soul be brought back through the means of Edo Tensei? And if they could, what would that mean for a tailed beast? As I believe a tailed beast being brought back through the means of Edo Tensei would be a lot different than that of a human. 1, obviously the body would be bigger, but 2, the way that a tailed beast and the way that a human interact with the world in the Naruto universe is massively different. And different in a way that actually might give some credence to today's theory, that Kurama can be reborn. But before we get into that theory, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you love theories about anime, you're gonna love my other channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk about all other anime. Just put out an Akame ga Kill video that did very well, so probably gonna be doing more of that. And if you just love the concept of me talking about all anime, you're gonna love my anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So, Kurama's death, probably one of the biggest deaths in Naruto, if not the biggest death ever. Kurama started as the curse that was placed in Naruto by some shady figure that we didn't find out was his parents until, what, 200 chapters? All we knew about Kurama is he was hailed as the demonic fox and that everybody in Konoha hated him because when he was released on the night of Naruto's birth, he killed a whole lot of people. But as the show goes on, Naruto slowly but surely reaches out to Kurama and they become friends. And that friendship becomes so deep that eventually they become partners, and Kurama is let out of his cage entirely to live symbiotically with Naruto. And by the time Boruto comes around, their relationship, Naruto and Kurama's, is so incredibly profound that Kurama takes chances while Naruto is asleep to help Naruto parent people like Kawaki. On the surface level, it's easy to say that Naruto and Kurama needed each other to grow into the people that they are today. But on a slightly deeper level, Naruto and Kurama healed each other. They walked hand in hand into the fire of the 4th Great Shinobi World War battles against Ishiki and came out closer from it. So close, in fact, that in that battle against Ishiki, Kurama decided to give his life for Naruto. Something that wouldn't even be dreamed possible in the early days of Naruto, when Kurama looked at Naruto as a cage with ire and spite in his heart. But because of the way the Baryon mode works, with both Naruto and Kurama colliding their chakra into each other and destroying that chakra, Kurama destroyed the entirety of his life force. As like we've already stated, Kurama is only chakra. Now, while in the Naruto universe, chakra being depleted happens every single day, chakra has never once been destroyed before. But with the destruction of this chakra, Naruto was able to tap into a new energy force known as Baryon mode. Now, we're not entirely sure if Kurama decided to expend more chakra than Naruto so he would die before Naruto did, or if Naruto just somehow had more chakra than the most powerful tailed beast out of all of them. Truly, all that matters is that Kurama ran out of chakra before Naruto, and since his chakra was destroyed and not depleted, disappeared. Now, on this page, we've explored theories about how Kurama could return to life, all of which revolve around the fact that a tailed beast is just chakra, meaning if their Jinchuriki dies, their chakra will reform elsewhere and they will continue on living, which tells us that so long as there's chakra of a certain tailed beast on Earth, they will continue to reform. Now, obviously, Kurama expended all of the chakra he had in Naruto when they clashed their two chakras together to create Baryon mode. But theories revolving around Kurama coming back to life mostly speculate that Kurama had chakra elsewhere. And in fact, we know that Kurama had chakra elsewhere. Both Kinkaku and Ginkaku are currently sealed inside of the gourd, one of the sacred tools of the Sage of Six Paths in 1010's weapon shop, have Kurama's chakra. If they were to hypothetically be released from this gourd, Kurama's chakra would once again exist on Earth. Now, this is technically kind of sketchy because both Kinkaku and Ginkaku were Edo Tensei. But Minato was able to transfer his half of Kurama over to Naruto, so there's really no reason for us not to believe that Kinkaku and Ginkaku's versions of Kurama that they have living inside of them couldn't be transferred, or at the very least extracted. On top of this, we learned at Sakura Hiden that chakra of a tailed beast can actually be reverse engineered, as members of a radical subsection of the Anbu actually took Naruto and other Jinchuriki's blood and reverse engineered a Jinchuriki cloak, meaning that a tailed beast chakra can actually be created from nothing. Well, not from nothing, but from the blood of their Jinchuriki, implying to us that the relationship between a tailed beast and its Jinchuriki is a lot more symbiotic than we think, as being able to manifest the chakra of the tailed beast living in the Jinchuriki from the Jinchuriki's genetic material implies that they're pretty much just one being, with any genetic material being harvested from a Jinchuriki carrying the chakra and possible genetic material of the tailed beast who lives inside of them. But this point in Sakura Hiden actually points us towards another more cohesive theory. See, Naruto was born with whiskers, 3 of them, which is supposed to symbolize the 3 whiskers that Kurama has. But Naruto was the first Jinchuriki of Kurama to have these whiskers. And there's a theory for this. See, Naruto was created by a Jinchuriki of Kurama, as his mother Kushina was pregnant with him while being the Jinchuriki of Kurama. And since we understand that the chakra and possible genetic material of a tailed beast exists within their Jinchuriki, if hypothetically one of these Jinchuriki made a child, now mind you, Kushina is the only Jinchuriki we know of to ever give birth to a child, it's possible that the genetic material or chakra of the tailed beast that the Jinchuriki is the Jinchuriki of would mix with their baby. And this is actually technically corroborated by Boruto, as even after Kurama's death, Naruto still has 3 whiskers, which means Naruto, while completely deprived of Kurama's chakra, still has things that symbolize his connection to Kurama. Even more interestingly than this, however, is the fact that Boruto and Himawari also have whiskers, while neither of them were ever the Jinchuriki of Kurama. Weirder than that almost, however, is the fact that they have 2 whiskers while Naruto has 3, very clearly symbolizing the fact that they are 1 generation removed from being born with Kurama, like Naruto was. And since we understand that Jinchurikis carry the chakra of the tailed beast that they hold in their genetics, this would imply that Kurama's chakra not only still exists in Naruto, it also exists in Boruto and Himawari. And since some of Kurama's chakra still exists on Earth, he has a means to reincarnate. Now, that's a theory we've been going with for a while, and that theory works. It makes me happy. It makes me not have to accept the fact that Kurama's gone, but there might actually be a better theory, one that's a little further under the surface, one that no one's talking about, but one that makes even more sense. See, in order to talk about this theory, we kind of have to do a lesson in physiology as it pertains to Naruto. See, we've already covered the fact that tailed beasts are just chakra, but that claim has always been somewhat dubious. See, while we fully understand that chakra can make physical constructs like Susanos and apparently tailed beasts don't operate in a way that one could very blanketly say, well, they're just chakra. See, tailed beasts are flesh and blood. They can bleed, they can be cut, things can be severed off of them. And while one could possibly chalk up tailed beast bleeding to inconsistencies, I would actually rally in the other direction. See, we know that tailed beasts obviously have physical bodies. They can punch things, they can throw things, they can make tailed beast bombs with their mouths. Son Goku ate Naruto, Gyuki had all of his tails cut off, and that is kind of weird. See, obviously the easy thing to say here is,
Well, yeah, but if they have physical bodies, how can they remanifest when the Jinchuriki dies? Obviously, they need to be all chakra. That way, whenever their Jinchuriki dies, they can dissipate and reassemble.
and while obviously them being able to reassemble their mass somewhere else does definitely point to the fact that they don't have an actual physical body, the idea of sealing physical things in the Naruto universe happens all of the time. Items, the Rashomon gates, entire people are sealed away all of the time. But because these physical objects are able to be sealed away, that doesn't mean that they're just chakra constructs, does it? A good example of this would be thinking about the Shinigami, the Reaper, the god of death that's summoned when you use Reaper Death Seal. That Shinigami, for all intents and purposes, was kind of killed by Orochimaru. However, when Orochimaru donned the Reaper's mask and cut open the Reaper's stomach, he didn't kill the souls that were inside of the Reaper. No, instead, he released 4.5 souls, the first 4 Kage and his arms. But the way that Reaper Death Seal works doesn't pull in the body into the Shinigami's stomach, it simply pulls in the soul. And souls are gonna be the most important thing we're talking about here today. See, today we're gonna be operating on the assumption that tailed beasts do, in fact, have souls, as well as real, physical, flesh and blood bodies, which, like we've already stated, is pretty much corroborated by everything in Naruto. Gyuki had his horn cut off, it fell to the ground. The third Raikage managed to cut off all of Gyuki's tails, though they regrew, and those tails continued to exist to such a degree that somebody from the Hidden Cloud Village tried to take one of the tentacles and eat it, trying to recreate what happened to Kinkaku and Ginkaku, however died from the amount of chakra that flooded into his system. These are real physical flesh and blood tentacles that are able to be consumed. If they were purely chakra, why wouldn't they dissipate after being cut off? Are you telling me that Gyuki is constantly pumping a certain amount of chakra to all of these now separated tails? The same thing could be said about Kurama. Both Kinkaku and Ginkaku existed in his stomach for 2 weeks and ate away at his stomach line. To go even further than that, we've seen the tailed beast bleed. During the 4th Great Shinobi World War, when they were all battling against each other, they got roughed up and bled. The best example of which being Kukio the Five Tails ramming into people with her horns, which made several of the tailed beasts bleed. So if they have physical bodies that can be consumed, severed, and bleed, it's not crazy to assume that the tailed beasts themselves have their own genetic material. But since we already technically understand that Jinchuriki share genetic material with the tailed beast that they hold, whether or not tailed beasts bleed at all is actually kind of irrelevant. So to recap here, we're establishing the fact that tailed beasts either have their own genetic material, like DNA, blood, muscle tissue, or their genetic material exists within the confines of their Jinchuriki or those who were born from Jinchuriki, like Naruto, Boruto, or Himawari. And that's important because in order to pull off Edo Tensei in the first place, you need the genetic material of the person you're summoning. This is why Hashirama's body gets dug up every other week. But genetic material isn't all you need to pull off Edo Tensei. You also need to be able to pull a soul from the Pure Lands, which brings us to the second and possibly most important question of this video. Do tailed beasts have souls? Now, obviously, every single one of the 9 tailed beasts has a personality. Some of them hate humans, some of them actively try to help humans, some of them just frolic around in the wilderness. But does a personality necessarily mean a soul? Because we know for a fact that the 10 tails, the thing that all of them were created from, didn't have a soul. As Naruto, when he sent the 10 tails, seeing whether or not Tak no Jutsu would ever work on it, realized that it was just a mass of malevolent nature chakra. Meaning that no matter how much Naruto told this 10 tails about the swing he sat on as a child, it would never sway to the good side. So if the 10 tails doesn't have a soul, how would the 9-tailed beasts who were created from the 10 tails get one? Well, their souls would have to be created, specifically by Hagoromo. Now we know that Hagoromo was able to create the 9-tailed beast by using his all-powerful jutsu and possible Shinjutsu, creation of all things, where he took the chakra of the 10 tails and formed it into the images of the 9-tailed beasts. As we know through the power of creation of all things, so long as he has enough chakra, he can turn whatever his imagination is into reality. But mind you, anything he creates will simply just be chakra. So can Hagoromo, through the power of creation of all things, create a soul? And to me, at least, the answer is relatively cut and dry. Yeah, he can. Think about it. It's called the creation of all things. Hagoromo is referred to as a godly figure, the Sage of Six Paths, an entity that now currently exists in a dimension somewhere between the Pure Lands and Earth and is infinitely powered and has the ability to create whatever he wants. For all intents and purposes, for the ninja world at least, he is God. Let me espouse on that point. To take it to a micro level, let's think about derived jutsus that come from creation of all things. Well, I guess derived jutsu. There's only one, and that one jutsu would be Izanagi. See, the way that Izanagi works is that by sacrificing a Sharingan, you are able to access creation of all things for roughly a minute. The roughly a minute thing depends on your chakra pool, if you have Indra or Ashra or both chakra, and so on and so forth. But the way that we see Izanagi used is Uchiha clan members, or Danzo, essentially rejecting the current reality they're in and changing it. It is reality warping. Now, the way that we usually see this reality warping used, even though it is implied that this reality warping can be used in other ways, is a person who's about to die essentially saying nope and sacrificing their eye to not die. But how does activating Izanagi get them out of the situation? Well, it has the Uchiha clan member, or Danzo, getting rid of the body they currently existed and then using their imagination to reform their body elsewhere and throw their consciousness into it. Izanagi works by essentially recreating yourself entirely. You change the entirety of reality so that the body that you are currently in actually never existed, and you create a new body, a new you, essentially. And while the rules of Izanagi are incredibly blurry, what we know for sure is that you are creating a new version of yourself. Now, as to why that new version of yourself can't just replace the eye you blinded or give yourself Rinnegan, we're not entirely sure. You're controlling reality, you might as well give yourself some buffs. So that's not important. What is important, however, is the fact that you can transfer your consciousness to this new body. Mind you, Izanagi is not a teleportation jutsu. You're not just warping reality so you're not standing where that Susanoo's arrow was. Your body got hit by that arrow, so you made a new body. Now, obviously, you could be like Ed and Al from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and make a hunk of meat that kind of looks like you, but doesn't have your consciousness or your soul. But that's not how Izanagi works. Izanagi allows you to make a perfect copy of yourself, which means on top of your physical body, which includes your muscles and your eyeballs and the clothes you are wearing, you are also copying your consciousness or your soul over to that new body. Implying with a much watered down version of creation of all things, Izanagi, you can create your soul, which means that Hagoromo, with the power of creation of all things, almost definitely could create a soul, which means that Hagoromo created souls for all of the nine-tailed beasts. And that opens the door for us. See, honestly, I didn't even have to go into this long and drawn out explanation of Izanagi and creation of all things, because during Kurama's death, we see that he slowly ascends upwards, much in the same capacity as Minato or anybody who was Edo Tensei returning to the Pure Lands after they were released. Kurama's body begins to smoke, and slowly but surely he rises upwards towards the Pure Lands, which he would only do if he had a soul. So where does that put us? Kurama has a soul that currently exists in the Pure Lands and genetic material, either from Kinkaku, Ginkaku, his own blood, Naruto, Boruto, or Himawari. The options are relatively endless, which means through the use of this genetic material and by pulling his soul from the Pure Lands, Kurama could be brought back using Edo Tensei. Now I know what you're saying. You're saying,
Nick, that's a temporary stopgap. Kurama would have to be released at some point.
and if we were talking about humans, you would be correct. Yes, obviously there are ways for Edo Tensei bodies to stay on Earth forever. All you have to know is the hand signs of it, you break yourself out of it, and you get an immortal body for as long as you want. It's an insanely broken and terrifying backdoor to one of the most powerful jutsus in Naruto. So yes, could hypothetically Kurama hit a couple of hand signs, release himself from Edo Tensei, and just exist forever? Yeah, he could. And sure, could this now released version of Kurama be resealed into somebody to act as a Jinchuriki and it would really operate no differently? Also, yes. If you can seal an Edo Tensei person in Grand Sand Mausoleum, there's no reason to think you can't use the 8 trigram seal on them to seal them in somebody like Naruto. And if anything, this actually might be substantially more advantageous for whatever Jinchuriki they end up in, as this Edo Tensei version of the tailed beast would be constantly refilling their chakra, which would make the Jinchuriki of this constantly chakra refilled tailed beast all but invincible. But I'm not even taking it that far. Now, obviously that's cool, it just sounds fanficky to me. Mostly because it would just be way too broken. See, the way I see it, the reason that I said that Edo Tensei works differently for a tailed beast than it does a human is for one key thing. Remember that a tailed beast is just chakra, and so long as a tailed beast chakra exists on Earth, it will be reborn. And what would happen if Kurama was brought back through Edo Tensei? His chakra would be on Earth, and a whole lot of it, technically all of it. Even if Kurama was released from Edo Tensei without being placed in somebody like Naruto, all of his chakra being on Earth would probably act as a medium for his reincarnation. And once his Edo Tensei was released, his chakra would dissipate, but because it was on Earth, it would reform. It's not like people who've been Edo Tensei need to take their chakra with them back to the Pure Lands. They are, after all, just the soul. So if we do operate on the very sound assumption that Kurama has genetic material and a soul, not only could we just take the Edo Tensei version of him and shove him in Naruto for the craziest power-up we've ever seen, but we could also just release him right after we summon him, and then he'll be back in a week or so, which is one of the scariest and most compelling theories I've ever had the misfortune of stumbling upon in my own brain. I made this. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a way we could get Kurama back? Do you believe that I'm just struggling getting through the phases of grief? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, hit that noti bell. I'll end this video off the way I end all of my good theory videos off. Kishimoto, you have my email.